Hey, there we go. Now we're live. Alrighty. So
At least you
everybody-
clicked the button. I didn't click it when I was posting.
All right. So, yeah, it took me a little bit to figure that one out, Maxwell. Don't feel too bad. Okay. Did everybody do the reading first
Yes.
off?
hmm
I got most of it read. That's what I was doing while I was waiting for the link.
Okay.
So
It's
Did you read both?
the two tough calls one, right?
Yes, part one. And also, did anybody read the employment at will and exceptions part?
Yes.
I didn't. The second part was so boring. I didn't finish it.
I did finish it, but I really my comprehension on that was lackluster. It was really
I agree.
Is that the employment at will doctrine, the Harvard Business Review with
Yes.
all the jargon that's
Yes.
difficult? Okay, I read that for like 6 hours and got a C on the quiz. So stupid. I'm still
Control.
bitter about it.
Left is your friend. Control
I
F.
know it is, but I still got a C on the quiz. It's difficult, like what they said. It's a tough one.
Well, all right, let's get down to business here. So, what is employment at will?
Me? Anyone?
Maxwell, go for it.
So employment at will was kind of adopted from like English common law, where you go into a job knowing that you or your employer can terminate your job at will. Basically, anytime. You don't even have to have like a reason. They can. At least when they first enacted the employment at will doctrine, there didn't have to be a reason, or your reason could involve discrimination or any of that stuff that we've learned about. So,
What are some exceptions to the employment at will doctrine?
well, like Maxwell said, it can't be based on discrimination. It can't be because your race or your age or anything like that.
yeah,
That brings up Title 7? Or is it Title 9? I can't remember which one.
I don't remember either.
it's
Discrimination stuff we learned about
it's
Title
seven.
7 was
a
the
month ago.
gender and all that other stuff.
No, national origin, religion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another exception would
Okay.
be if you had like union contracts.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's really contracts in general that specify that there has to be a certain time before so-and-so can be fired.
hmm
Because in a lot of contracts, it says that the employee must give a week, 2 weeks notice, or the employer must give a week for the person to clean out.
Right.
Some are more lenient than that. And others, if it says employment at will in the contract, it's to be assumed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think another one that is violation of public policy, where you can't get fired for like doing jury duty or spotting out, like they call it. I think they call it blowing the whistle, right?
Yeah, whistle.
Like
Whistleblowers,
whistle blowing, yeah, like doing the right thing
Edward
and you get
Snowden.
fired type deal, yeah.
And even just kind of expound on that a little bit. Certain things such as refusing to date one's boss.
Yeah.
You can't get fired for that one.
Mhm.
Just in my section, that's something that comes up with. And me as a boss can't ask you guys to form a team and go rob a bank either because we're in financial hardship. Doesn't work that way. I can't fire you for saying no. Although you guys can't turn me in for something else. Anyway. So, what is an implied contract? Touched on a little bit, but what do you guys think?
Well, it talks specifically in here about how sometimes in your offer letter, it might state, that your annual salary, and they're claiming that sometimes that's the implication to a year's worth of work. That's the exception. But
Yeah, it's really anything that's done by an action of the employer can be counted as an implied contract.
That's the one that
Can't tell you. Go for it.
That's the one that talks about promotions, bonuses and incentives, right?
Correct. Or even having a favorable review prior to being let go.
So, all right, discuss that. Moving on to step 2. Yeah, we talked about that. Step 2. So, everybody here, I imagine, read the case study. The questions about Terry and the questions about Phil. If this manager should let one of them go, both of them go, neither of them. We're just going to spend the next several minutes talking about and the company as a whole. So, first off, what does Terry have to do with the company's bottom line? What does he
Nothing.
generate profit?
Nothing.
Nothing.
He's basically just dead weight, and he
Yeah.
offends everybody. Well, so does Phil, but at least Phil he's autosufficient and he brings in money to the company. So the money that he brings into the company, he basically covers his own paycheck at least.
Yeah, he's a glorified paper pusher, is what I
Yeah.
understood from the readings. He's
Mm-hmm.
kind of a good intermediary between departments.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, now going back to Terry, what obligations does this manager have to the company?
Does the manager have?
The one from whose perspective all this is, what obligations does she have for the company to, starting with Terry, to keep Terry on board, to let Terry go? What are the financial implications of it? What are the implications of it?
I
Some general
personally
information.
think that she owes it to her team, which she has very carefully sculpted and recruited and created. And she owes it to all of them to unload him. He's costing money. He's costing managerial time. All of that can be better spent, for growing the company, growing the business, and in compensation to everyone.
I think another thing is that she just hired a bunch of superstars. Like, she told us that her team, she was basically bragging about her team, saying that they're just a bunch of superstars, that they were all able to do their work, independently, and that guy, what's his bucket? Terrace?
Yeah.
Trevor?
Terry.
Terry. Terrace, where did that come from? He drags his heels, he asks what to do, can't do anything really. He's not really, he doesn't know the jargon of programming, so it's difficult to work with him. Not just his personality, but just with his qualifications as well. So, I mean, she owes it to her team, even though Terry has ties with upper management, like his friends with the CEO and whatnot. So he's kind of like untouchable. But then again, he's like screwing over his team. So
I thought it was interesting that the assignments that she gives him are things that totally don't matter. And that even those things he still manages to do wrong.
Wasn't that the manager before the manager that's talking present tense?
Well, I thought she did that too.
Oh, I don't know. I just remember that he said that Rachel did that, the prior manager, but I didn't know. I thought that he had tried to work with him and tried to teach him things and gave him things to read, and he took no ownership or saw no result from doing that nurturing.
Well, his
The current
job,
manager ended up giving him lower level tasks as well.
Okay.
and she said that he was just supposed to write instructions, but it didn't occur to him that he should figure that out on his own.
Oh, yes.
Just go around to everybody else and say, hey, how should
Ask
we do
with it, yes. And then he'd write their answers and never come up with his own.
it?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So I think we've covered this one pretty well. Maxwell, you looked like you got startled there not too long ago. So the other
my
one,
wife
now let's
snuck
talk.
up on me and scared the crap out of me.
Give her a high five
Evil.
from all the rest of us and tell her good job.
I'll let her know.
All right. So now about Phil. What's he got? He got on the company. What are the obligations to both him and the company?
My concern is that they have bought in with their reaction to his illness. Regardless of his poor performance, I think that they have made it much harder on themselves in order to get rid of him because of all they've invested in supporting him through his illness.
Yeah, it's more like, it's almost like with him, she has more legal obligation because, like, he's sick, right? So if they fired him, it would seem like they were discriminating against his illness. So that would really, like, I guess, lower the company's morale. So she's like in a sticky situation. Isn't that the name of the paper? Sticky situation or something?
Tough calls.
Tough calls. Way off.
Sticky situation wouldn't work, especially if it was in like a honey factory or a sugar factory or something. All right. So, what legal obligations have, starting with Terry? What are the possible discriminations here? What are just the legal obligations in general?
Well, they talked about the old Microsoft process of doing the PIPs. You know what I mean? Once you give them the 2.5, then the PIP would follow. So you have that in as the history of the way of doing things. But I don't know, based upon the at-will, I don't know that you have to do that. And it did state that in certain circumstances. Now, they were grievous, you know what I mean, infractions of rules or something. But I don't see why they just can't let him go. Just give him his notice and let him go.
I know she's worried about the fact that he's the CEO's buddy and whoever that her manager was when she tried to give him a 2.5 and he really pressured her about it.
Yeah.
What's stopping her from saying, look, he's not working with our team. If you want to keep him on in the company, find someplace else for him to go.
That's a great
Okay.
alternative. Absolutely.
So what are some potential discrimination things that can result from this, if any?
I don't think that firing him, I don't think he'd have any leverage to start litigation towards the company.
I agree with Maxwell. I don't think they have a leg to stand on, or he would have a leg to stand on.
Yeah,
Unless
I mean,
he was fired because you're old, I'm going to fire you.
oh, he was older,
Yeah.
you're right, yeah. I mean,
That's
Oh, and she also said he was she got the impression he was super religious. So I think you'd have to be careful there.
yeah.
Yeah, you'd hopefully the age thing and the religion thing was never put in writing anywhere or shared with anybody else.
Yeah, if she kept it to herself, then I mean, if there's no way to document it, the best way to do is to keep it to yourself. You know, it seems like she never talked to him about anyone. She kept it to herself, type deal. So,
all right. I think we've beat that dead horse to death. So what about Phil? What are the legal obligations with potentially firing Phil?
You've got the discrimination against someone who is sick.
Disability.
Yep. And technically, I don't know if it's a federal law. I just know that in the state of California, you have to make reasonable accommodation, which would go along with what Morgan was suggesting for Terry. You know what I mean? That they could find another place for him somewhere in the company. I think that could be Phil's situation where maybe he is no longer a good fit for the present team, but maybe they can have him, I don't know, answering phones somewhere.
Work in the mailroom.
Yes. Yeah, every company has a mailroom, right? I don't know anymore because of emails and, all that. But I can't help but think that there would be some kind of an accommodation that they could offer him to avoid letting him go and risk the litigation, because I do think that there's a risk with him.
Fair enough. Tribute. Welcome, Cambria, by the way.
Hey guys.
Hi.
Yeah. So I think we've covered that one. Now let's go on to ethical obligations. So what obligations does this manager have with Terry? Let's start with Terry. We've already talked a little bit about how he's good friends with this level management, but what are some other ethical obligations he has to
I
him?
think that one thing that was interesting was like her own personal ethics, for example. Like, she hates PIPs and she doesn't see that they serve a great purpose. So, I mean, if she were to put him on she gives him a 2.5, right? And then he'd have to go on a PIP or a PIP or whatever the crap it is they call it. So she would be going against her own ethics, first of all, and against all of the people that took him under their wing. So she's facing a two-faced coin, or whatever fancy word can go there.
Okay. How about Phil? Ethical obligations does she have to Phil?
I don't think she can terminate him. I think that she's put herself in a box, and I don't know what she can do, or she can't. I think the best thing to do is to find him some kind of an accommodation, get him out of where he is, but get him somewhere else where he might be of value.
Transition.
Yeah, some kind of transition.
Okay.
But I don't see how they can legally terminate him without serious litigation risks.
Yeah, I mean, and they could do that for both employees, like get them off the team into another part of the company where they would serve a better purpose type deal. That could be a route that you could take for either of them.
Could they provide either with them of additional training to help them transition into something else?
I think
the thing is, though, she's tried.
Yeah, she already tried to train.
I mean training in another department, training for something.
Oh.
They would have maybe some more options outside of her department.
That's an interesting idea.
It's possible. All right, so what?
Sorry.
Go for it.
I was going to say, it sounds like one of Phil's biggest problems was he's just socially awkward, and I don't know how you nicely train someone in that. I mean, maybe you just do like group meetings where you go over makes you a challenge the manager, the CEO, and different things like that. So it sounds like he just wasn't quite aware of the proper etiquette was one of his biggest issues, which you can't really fire someone for.
Let me throw something out there. This wasn't a large company, a corporation. Dawn, you work for a large company.
Yes, I do.
I know that most large corporations have some kind of psychologist, psychiatrist on staff. I don't know that this company would qualify for that. They don't seem large enough to have that kind of resource. But that said, I can't help but think that what Cambria brought up could be addressed in some manner if they had that resource available. When you think about large corporations, they invest in their employees, and getting rid of someone really does impact everybody that they interact with, kind of shakes things up like they talked about. And I think sometimes it behooves them to exhaust all means and measures before they let someone go, just because of the ripple effect that it has when you let someone go. I would like to think that they could do something with him to help him with his awkwardness and just find him a safe place somewhere to make what contribution he can. Terry just seems like he was hired as a favor to him for all that he did for the CEO and the vice presidents and stuff in their scuba endeavors. But he just doesn't seem like he's worth keeping. But Phil, I think that he does talk about how he does contribute something, even if it's small, he does. So I can't help but think that somewhere else his little something might be a big something.
I want to go back to something Cambria said when she was talking about him, just being awkward and not knowing the etiquette about not contacting the CEO directly. Did it say anywhere in the reading that he was ever instructed not to do that, that that was not an okay thing to do?
I actually went back and looked because that's what I thought. I thought, has no one ever had a talk with this guy and said,
Yeah.
you might not want to do that?
Yeah, you know, we had something like that at work happen recently where somebody, you know, because I work directly for the boss, and you know, he sends out a weekly email update, you know, just what's going on in the organization, and somebody replied directly back to him who was unhappy about, you know, there was a training class being offered and she didn't like the time of day that it was offered, and she complained to him about that. And you know,
Wow.
so he stopped by her office and had just a pleasant chat with her. But by the time he was able to get to her, her boss had already found out about it and had said, "Hey, you know, inappropriate. Don't do that again."
I've had a
Okay.
situation like that before, but my two cents on that. Large corporations, I mean, the one that I work for, we don't necessarily have a psychologist or psychiatrist on staff, but we have an EAP, Employee Assistance Program. So we have that available. But also one of my other jobs, and many years ago, you know, and I think there were probably 500 people across 26 sites at this company that I worked for. But one of the first things when I got hired, one of the first things my supervisor said was, within your first year here, I want you to pick out some off-site trainings. You know, they'd get catalogs or whatever all the time. And so I was, you know, scheduling MRI and CT appointments for a radiology company. And so she wanted me to go pick out some sort of off-site training to go to. So I picked one on how to deal with difficult people. And 15 years ago, you know, that was 15 years ago, and I still remember a lot of the stuff that I took from that. So I mean, while they may not have somebody on site to help with some of that, there's external sources that aren't going to cost the company too much, you know, in this grand scheme of things, to kind of address some of that. But is that the only issue? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doing something like that, is that going to correct enough of his behaviors to get his performance up? So
Can a company, I'm just throwing this out there just because it came up as you were talking, can a company require that you get counseling? Like if they see some personality issues that are causing conflict within the company, can the company require you to use your EAP to gain insight, skills?
I have heard, and I don't know if it was an edict, if you don't do this, you're going to lose your job. But I have been aware of people who have been strongly recommended to address some issues through EAP.
Okay.
I've heard people that, as far as they've been required to take counseling, or their employment could be in jeopardy due to some psychological issues that they have that
Okay.
are creating an unstable work environment for everybody else.
Okay.
So what obligations does this manager have to the company? Kind of shifting gears a little bit here.
Obligations in what manner?
Just ethical obligation. Is it ethical to the company to let one or both of these two guys go?
Well, I wish she'd let them both go prior to Phil getting sick, but since she didn't, I think she's got to let Carrie go, and I don't know what she's going to do with Phil, but I don't know how she can get rid of Phil.
Because she spent all this time rallying her entire team around this one guy in the hospital.
You
And the
had
other
people
guy's buddy
donating
with
all
him.
of their sick time.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? To where they created a pool for other people to use. I mean, that's,
It's kind of hard to eliminate him after that.
uh-huh.
And Terry, he's good friends with some of the upper level management, and they're pressuring her to not give him a 2.5, to give him at least a 3 or something. Just some thoughts to think about.
It sure seems like it's unethical obviously it's unethical for them to pressure her about the score that she gives them. But it seems unethical for her to knowingly just
Everything. She's got to be able to show in some manner his lack of performance, especially maybe in contrast to his peers.
So, talking about the peers, now that you brought that up, what would it do to the other employees if Terry was fired or if Phil was fired? What would be the employee reaction?
I don't think they'd probably care is it Terry the one that's always going around asking? It seems like he doesn't really do anything. He just wants everyone else to give him the answers, and people are probably getting very annoyed by that. I would get annoyed, and I'd be like, why are you still here? So, but of course, if he is actually contributing anything, I mean, that there could be a hole there, or maybe he does have friends that would miss him being gone, but I don't think there'd be a huge impact with him gone. For the people he works with daily, for the higher ups who are friends with him, that's another story.
I think it would improve morale because everybody knows that it's not great to work with somebody who is not pulling their own weight and making it harder for you to do your own job.
And with all of that little interviewing that he's doing with everyone else, he's actually inhibiting them to be as productive as they can.
Yep.
How about Phil?
I think they're invested. I think the other employees care about him.
Yep.
But I think it would be.
They've made him a saint.
He's untouchable. Simply put.
Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing, though? Because it's
Him
formed a
being-
sense of brotherhood in that team, this bonding together around this one man.
I think that it's a positive thing just because, I mean, they made him untouchable, right? So I think that, I mean, it makes it tough for her, but it's been good for their whole team, you know, because they've all come together to help him. So, I mean, I think like the best thing that he could do is like take a sick leave, you know, isn't it? Does it say that he does that?
He
does.
he does that for quite a while, coming back when
He comes back.
he can.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, let's. Sorry, I'm recovering from a cold here. All right. So let's kind of shift gears a little bit here. Let's talk a little bit about the company's HR practices. How does the company? How well does the company use its HR capabilities, and how efficient are they at using them? Hello, Autumn. Welcome to the party. So go ahead and answer that. Ken, what do you guys think?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Sorry I'm late. Really late.
At least you came.
I was helping my husband with his math homework, so
You're married?
yeah.
You look like you're 16. Oh,
Almost 22.
you just ruined everything. I just thought you were this little sweet little freshman.
Oh no, I graduate next semester, so
Yay. I know how it feels. Trust me, that last semester is going to be your worst because this is my last semester.
Are you all?
it can't be.
Are all of you seniors?
I am not.
I think I'll be a senior next semester. I think.
Don, where are you?
I think after this semester I will have 82 credits. So
Wow.
there, yeah.
There you go.
I'm just barely
All
a
I'm saying is
sophomore.
next
Next,
semester.
totally, we digressed from the discussion. Sorry.
Sorry, my bad.
I think I qualify for super senior status. I'm like 140 plus credits. We're still
Nah,
going.
hey.
Okay, I'm not that bad. I'm 30
Wow.
grand.
I started and I did 3.5 years on campus and then left abruptly. And I was studying in secondary education. And then I came back through the pathway program and now the online and had to completely change majors. So like a semester and a half away from being done. And now I've started over. So anyway.
Dang it. Well, anyway, back to the task at hand. So, about the case study right now. That's really all we're doing. And so we're getting ready to start talking about the human resource practices of the company. First question is, how well does the company utilize its HR department?
I don't think it utilizes the HR department very well at all. They talk about when the manager went to HR for Phil to get them to donate sick time, or vacation time to supplement the disability, but there's not a whole lot of other discussion about the HR piece.
It also addressed them a little bit when it talked about the PIP thing, that HR expected that if you gave someone a PIP, you were forcing them out the door. There was no ifs, ands, buts, or maybes. If they got a PIP, they were being let go. And they expected one to follow the other.
Right.
So to me, they're not doing a whole lot other than, what do I want to say, enforcing. There isn't any development or nurturing or mentoring, it's just enforcement.
The human side of human resources isn't there.
Yes, that's a very good statement.
Good way to
Yes.
put it. Okay, so we can all agree their HR department is kind of a failure. All right, now, what are their hiring practices like for the company?
Well, it talked about them having rounds of oral interviews, and you had to, if you got, was it 2 no's or 3 no's or something, then you didn't get
3 no's, yeah.
with the interviews. If you got enough yeses, then you could keep going. But obviously that's optional if you're a friend of the CEO.
Or like Phil, you're grandfathered in to the acquisition of another company.
Right.
I think that they have to, I like that policy. I like that when they are doing these mergers that they are keeping these people, because that's one of my biggest complaints about mergers is that they just, throw half the prior company away. However, that said, I think that they have to take more responsibility in the development, or maybe the assessment, and then the development of these people that they are bringing into the fold, and making sure that they're placing them where they need to go, or where they can actually contribute,
Mhm. Is it effective?
Presently, obviously Phil and Terry both got through without any of the scrutiny, and now you've got dead weight.
Now
They
let's
even
look
said
at
that-
the rest. Sorry,
It
go
even
ahead,
said
Maxwell.
that, even said that Terry failed every job interview and got a no hire, and they still hired him. So their interview process is a joke, obviously.
So how effective is this current manager at hiring people? Because look at the successes of her team. Look who she has on her team.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
She seems
Yeah,
like
she has the most productive team. So obviously she's a good judge of character and choosing people that fit together, creates a good synergy.
Okay. So how does the HR department manage people and give them feedback?
Well, I didn't like the part about the forced bell curve of the performance reviews. So I would say, again, HR fail.
So, what don't you like about the forced bell curve?
I
What's
think
wrong with that idea?
it artificially, not demotes, but it artificially gives people a lower score than what they might deserve.
Okay.
Yeah, because it sounds like Terry and Phil are both on that team with all those superstars, and you know that that bell curve is taking a huge dip because of the two of them, whereas it probably would be way up here without them.
Okay. So, what's the process of the performance reviews? What purpose did they serve? Kind of an extended note here. Bueller.
I think with the right management that they would probably be effective. It's just, I mean, right now the way it's been in the past is somebody gets a 2.5, a 2.5 or whatever, and they don't always act on that. Whereas the policy or whatever it is says that they get a 2.5, then they're automatically fired or whatever it was. I can't remember all the details, but anyway, they don't seem to act on that. They just it's just a number. So I think with the right management who's willing to do something, they could be effective.
Yeah, like the last manager, like with this score system, an employee could possibly, get an idea from the company about how they're performing, But, like Terry's old manager, he basically was terrible, and he still got 3s or 3.5s because they're protecting him. So,
Yeah.
like what you guys said, under the right management, that system could work, but if they keep, I don't know, just protecting people or whatever, that system is basically useless.
I actually like the new manager's way of managing. I liked the idea of I'm going to let my people know when they're doing a good job. I'm going to let them know when they're not, measuring up. If they want to know where they stand with me, all they have to do is ask. I think that all companies would benefit if they dealt with people forthrightly. But I don't see that happening either.
Okay. I think we've established that one pretty good. They're kind of broken. So, how well is HR at selling the company, presenting a good picture of the company to the employees of how, and also how does, well, let's just answer that one first.
You ask it.
How well does the company, does the HR department sell the company to the employees? Does that question make sense? I know what I'm trying to ask, I just don't know how to say it.
Like if the employees get a clear picture of how they're performing type deal.
Yes.
I don't think it's
Did you read?
realistic. As it's
Yeah.
We talked about that one already. And okay. So, are the PIPs effective at all in any way, or are they just more of a waste of time and
I mean, they're
resources?
effective to get someone to get someone fired. They're effective. You get one, you're basically getting a boot. So if that's what you have them for, then I guess it just depends on the eyes of the beholder.
If
Seems like
you're
they
the person getting it, they're not.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if they're going to use them for actually firing people, they probably shouldn't call them a personal improvement plan because you're not.
That's what they're called. Okay. It should be a PIF, like a personal fire plan. I don't know.
Or they could just call it limbo. Anyway, we're getting into irrelevance here. So, is there, from this manager's perspective, is there a good decision regarding Terry and regarding Phil, or are they just bad choice either way?
Is this the part where we make a final decision, or?
No,
Oh,
that's next.
okay.
Patience, young Padawan.
I didn't know if I don't know.
No, this is actually question number 7.
Out
So,
of,
do you think this manager can make good decisions about the two, or
yes, I
Yeah,
do. I
pressure?
trust her.
Yeah.
Okay,
She's
I
a
think
bright 27-year-old. I trust her.
the dangers of being in your 20s. All right, so take a little bit of time here. Think about what you would do. Would you fire Terry? Would you keep him on? Would you fire Phil? Would you keep him on? Would you fire them both and fill their positions, or
I'd
what?
fire Terry and I'd try and find a better fit for Phil.
Well, that's straightforward. Let's just go down along the line in order of when you showed up. So, Morgan, you're next.
Okay. I would go to the manager who's pressuring me to not give him a 2.5 and offer him up to work in that person's department, see if they can help him be successful. And then with Phil, if he, they talk about how he didn't do a full person's, it's like maybe his position would be better as a 3/4 time employee or a part-time employee. He was able to add value. It just wasn't quite enough work. So give him a reduced work schedule. That also might be better with his health concerns too.
Those
Okay.
are great suggestions, Morgan.
Yep.
So, is that what you do with both of them? So, what would happen if the other manager doesn't want to take Terry on board?
Then I would proceed with firing him.
Okay, Maxwell.
Okay, so there's something relevant with that. What I'm about to say. So, through marriage, I've learned that the greatest tactic is to make an idea sound like your spouse's.
I can agree with that.
They believe me. Okay. Anyway, so I would sit down with Terry and I would tell him, look, with this new manager, she's pretty blunt and straightforward, and she said that her employees like that about her. So I'd be straightforward with him. Just be like, look, man, like I gave you this score because this, and this. Do you believe that's fair? And he wouldn't have the audacity to say, no, I deserve it, 3.5 or whatever. He'd be like, yeah, I'm weighing the team down, and she could say, well, like you should find another team that has a better fit. And if you can't do that, then I'll have to let you go. So it'd be like his idea type deal. That's what I would try and do. Be like, yeah, I should find another team because, yeah, I could contribute better. And it'd be like his idea, and you wouldn't be the bad guy, and everything would work out. It'd be great.
So, what would you do about Phil?
I would try and transfer him to. I mean, he's an open slot, right? Because because he took a sick leave, so he could easily be taken by anybody, any sector of the company. So,
Okay.
it's easier to transfer him than it is to transfer Terry, I think.
Somebody's going tick, 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 tick on their keyboard. All right, Don, what would you do? The culprit has been caught. All right.
All right.
Don?
I think with Terry, I would make sure everything is documented for sure. And I like the suggestions that you guys have already made, but yeah, see if there's another fit for him somewhere else in the company. But it almost sounds like, he doesn't even have, he doesn't have the skill set to work anywhere else if he's constantly asking everybody how to do things and what to do. And I'm not, I would worry about that. So I would probably I would fire him, and then with Phil, again, just make sure everything is documented, and maybe have a conversation with him, and just let him know, have a conversation with him and just ask if he feels that this department's the right fit for him, and kind of like what Maxwell was saying, was just you can word things in a way that they'll put two and two together themselves, and kind of decide, either you're right, this isn't for me, or let me give it a shot somewhere else.
Okay.
So,
I don't know. I think with Terry, it's not my favorite. But he doesn't seem to be serving any purpose. But I think you could probably approach it with the personal improvement plan, the PIPs or whatever. It seems like most of their approaches have been, they do it with the intent to fire them. And they had the example of like, you tell them to be in at 8 a.m. If they show up at 8:01, you fire them. And it looked like they were just looking for nitpicky, minuscule, dumb things to fire people over because they wanted to get rid of them. So I think I would do the personal improvement plan, but make it things that he actually needs to improve on versus trying to be nitpicky, if that makes sense.
You actually use the PIP to what it's intended for?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know, shocking. Versus going into it as, oh, this is just a way to try to get rid of him legally and, without any lawsuits or anything. Go into it as okay, these are things we really need to work on and have a way to measure them. And then, if he can't still beat those, then yes, let him go. But I don't know, just be very clear and concise and document everything and use it, not just to nitpick, 8:01 on the dot, you're fired, but actually try to find improvement if possible. Then that could also make the manager that wants the higher score happy, say, I have to give this score, but we're giving him an honest chance. Phil, I think, just needs to be transferred or something else going on. I don't think I would let him go. Those are my thoughts.
Okay. Autumn?
Oh, she left a comment. She thinks they should just fire both of them.
I like that. Thinking outside of the box.
Well, you didn't beat around the bush.
I like the last line. Time for them to go.
All right. Okay. All right. Well. Oh, come on. Everybody go ahead and click on that. That's what actually happened here. And so take a little bit of time, read it, then let's come back with comments and we can talk about what actually happened here.
Is this part 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it password protected by chance?
No, I was able to get in.
Okay.
No, it's just I have everything open side by side, so I'm just going there. It's easier to read.
Okay.
Wow.
Knew it.
The results might shock you.
Hold on, don't get too far ahead. I got distracted. I'm still in the second paragraph.
Oh, Morgan, just.
I'm trying.
Hey, Morgan, do you get any Captain Morgan jokes at all?
Not recently, no.
Just checking. Just trying to distract you is all.
Thanks.
I need some good background music or something going on here.
Sad ending.
Yeah.
Well, let's just wait for everyone else to get done before we start commenting on it. No spoilers here.
It could have been
Morgan
sad
said.
because they kept him.
But which one did they keep?
Okay, the ending is sad, but it's also inconveniently convenient.
All right. Who's still reading? Raise your hand. Okay.
Captain Morgan.
I knew it.
So who's going tick tick on their keyboard earlier? It was kind of annoying. Whisper, 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 whisper. All right, Morgan, you done yet or still reading?
I'm just about done with Terry.
Okay, we'll stop distracting you.
Thank you. I'm about to mute you guys. Okay, we got rid of Terry. That's cool. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right. So, as I'm sure everybody's aware, let Terry go, but she did it in a way that's, hey, I don't want to put you on a PIP. I want to help you find another job. I hope you find another job where you'll be a better fit. So let's talk about specifically about Terry. What did the manager do well?
This isn't me bragging, but she kind of made it sound like his idea. I was super stoked about that. She is a genius. She must be
I was just
married.
gonna say she obviously read Max's book.
Oh, man. That's all I have to say.
I'm glad I'm not your wife tonight.
I thought she was straightforward with him. She was honest and fair, and she treated him with dignity and respect. And
Yes.
I just think she handled it really well.
I really like the part where she said, look, I'm not going to give you a time limit here, but in 3 months or so, that should be long enough for you to at least have another job lined up. Let's kind of look and see where we're at then. I don't want to put you on a PIP, but we're going to let you go. We're going to let you go with a party, make it a positive experience for everybody, including Terry, instead of a very negative thing. All right.
Autumn posted
just
another
commented.
comment.
I think she handled it in probably the best way possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Going off with what Morgan said, she handled him with dignity and treated him with respect. Any more comments about Terry, about what the manager did with him? All right. If not, let's move on to Phil. Keeping him on board. That's kind of a floating position.
I don't think they had any other option. I think they had to do that.
Okay.
Yep.
So in his case, what did she do well?
Well, she didn't let the status quo, stay there. She found something else for him to transition to.
And he did stay on her team, even though his position had been filled by somebody else while he was taking all of his sick leave. So he was a free floater floating around. So what could she have done better with Phil or even Terry?
I think she did really, really well with Terry. I think after reading this, and I've been in companies where, everybody kind of is supportive of someone in, some kind of crisis situation, whether it's an awful diagnosis or, a loss of somebody unexpected through a criminal act or a natural disaster or something of that nature. But I think they overdid it with Phil, and I don't know where you draw the line, but she kind of tied her own hands in that circumstance because of all of the support and the assistance that they provided for him. Plus, it set a precedent. What if you're the next person to get cancer and they don't do it for you?
I think she kind of set a status quo with that one.
Yeah.
It's just kind of the company culture at that point.
Yeah.
So, all right. Are there any comments about anything more about Phil or Terry that anybody wants to add? And just how the manager handled it? Okay. All right. Maxwell, you look like you're about to say something.
Oh,
Second.
at the end of this week's assignments, we do the like our group evaluation, and then the last question is like, how is this relevant to you, and how are you going to apply it, type deal. And I said that at least her example with how she dealt with Terry was good, and how she gave a good example of how to avoid litigation and how to avoid any exceptions in the what's it called? The doctrine, the
Employment at will.
yeah, the employment at will doctrine. So I thought that was something that's very applicable for all of us if we're ever in a position like that. I know I saved this this file so I could read it later if I had to, because it's a good resource. How she dealt with it was really bright, and I liked it.
Okay. So what can we learn from this case study about employment decisions, specifically with termination? Did anybody learn anything?
I really appreciated Morgan's ideas tonight. They did not occur to me at all, but I really liked the idea of going back to the vice president who was giving her such flack and saying, if you want him that bad, find a place for him, I think anytime that you can turn something around and give it to somebody else because they're trying to do your job for you, that it's a win. You know what I mean? Let them take ownership. Go ahead. It's yours. But I really appreciated her insight.
Thanks.
So, did Cambria just say something?
I think she's
Sorry.
Okay.
I forgot I had it muted when my son was down here and I was lecturing him. Anyway, I just, through the readings and then through the examples we saw tonight, it was just interesting that there's so many different routes you can take with working with employees, and it's not always a cut and dry thing like a lot of people want to believe it is. It's not just, so you're not performing, see ya, you're out of here. there's a lot that has to be taken into consideration.
I guess the thing that from all this week's reading that really is sticking with me isn't about the disciplining. It's about the difference between layoffs and furloughs. I thought that was a really interesting article, and I liked that the benefit of the furlough is to put the company in the best position for rebounding.
Where you're keeping that the end of the picture in sight instead of just the here and now.
Yeah.
I appreciated that too.
Yeah, that short term, let's just hack our personnel budget because it's too expensive, without considering the fact that you've got long term goals that you need to be concerned about. It's really short sighted to do it that way.
Yeah.
I'll be right back. Okay, I'm still in the meeting. Okay.
I like the awkward silence while she's on the phone.
Sorry.
Okay. So, what's kind of the take-home message from all this? What can we apply in future situations?
After talking with all of you, I think that primarily you got to remember that you're dealing with a human being. They might be dead weight on your team, but they're still a human being, and you've got to keep that in mind throughout the whole process, and you've got to be able to find a way to treat them, Morgan said, with dignity and respect throughout the process.
You keep the human and the human resources.
Yes.
Right.
Documentation is huge. If you really do have somebody who is just not cutting it, you've got to have good documentation.
I agree. Okay, so does anybody have any last minute comments about the case study or
Autumn does.
about Autumn? Okay, what she got?
She says these are human. Oh, it's gone.
Can everybody read it?
No,
No, I'm on my
I'll hear you.
phone. I don't see the comments.
it was there, but it
Okay,
died.
I'll hear you read it out
Yeah. Are you going to
Go for
Daniel? Go
loud. Go
ahead.
for it.
All right. I agree that she was very respectful and wanted to help with the options he had. These are human beings. You need to take into account both them and also the needs of the company. What is really going to be the best for the company, and how can you make it reasonable for the employees?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Before we all run off, I don't know if you're going there, Daniel, but can we make the assignments for the last paper?
a lot of them, the assignments have already been done.
For the last
So
paper?
Yes.
The one that's
So if
due
everybody goes ahead. Yep. There's the link sitting in everybody's Gmail accounts right now. There's 2 parts that we know of, and maybe a third.
I think the third might be workspace. There was, when I was looking through the readings, and I could be wrong, so we'll want to watch for the theme. There were the 2 that were listed, but then there was like a workplace one, and then there's a work, like attached to something else, and then there's a second section, like a third section about workspace. So that may be it, but I don't know for sure. So
Does somebody want to pose a question to Brother Bonnie in the class meeting?
you can do that.
Okay. Then,
If it is a third, if workspace itself is the third problem, can I switch mine to do the workspace? Because it was included on the second one. I jumped on that one. So
yeah.
okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and edit that. I'll go ahead and do the editing on the last one, the intro and conclusion.
I'll do one of the problems. So if Dawn's going to take workspace, then I'll take society.
Okay,
Okay.
that'll work.
Does that fill it all in?
Let me go back and look. I have it open. Hang on. So
Oh,
the
yeah.
first one's all done. The second one,
Who's doing the problem one?
so we would need solutions for, well, Dawn, you're going to do 2 solutions too, right?
Yes.
So we would need 2 solutions for problem 3, and I guess I'll do 2 solutions too. So we would need 2 solutions for problem 3 and 2 solutions for problem 2.
Autumn, we did sign up, but there were still some vacant spots that we're trying to fill now.
I'm putting myself in, well, I'm going to actually move you, Dawn.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, Autumn is now in for this, the second half of mine, and Maxwell is literally putting it in as I speak for the other one. Dawn. And Daniel, you're going to do the intro, conclusion, and editing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
That means everybody's involved.
All right. I don't know when the paper's due, but let's get it done a week early.
Yeah. So another problem that I noticed is that week 14 there is no group discussion. So next week is our last group discussion, and there's 7 of us in our group, and we each need to do the group leading thing twice.
I've only done it once.
I've only done it.
I've only done it once.
So I think he said at the beginning, but we might want to double check that some people may only do it once, and that's fine. You'll only be counted for the one. The other won't count against you or for you.
Oh.
Yeah.
What a Christmas miracle.
If somebody really wants a second time, I'll let them have mine. But I'm signed up to do it. I think I have it next week.
Okay.
All right, I gotta go.
All right.
Bye, Morgan.
All right. See ya.
Alrighty.
All right. So, as a whole, how did the discussion go?
I think you did great.
Good, good.
I give you a 10.
Okay.
There was not a point missed.
One more thing. I need help. I need somebody to set up the group for me next week. Otherwise, I've tried it and for whatever, I don't know what it is, but if I set up the group, I get feedback. Remember the very first meeting? And so it repeats on me, and I can't make head nor tails of it. So would somebody be willing to set up the link next week and send out the invites? I'll do the rest. I just need you to set up the link and record it and post it.
I volunteer Maxwell since he's only been the lead once.
I'll do it. I was about to volunteer anyways.
All right, you just got voluntold.
Set up the link, send out the invites, and then record and post it for me.
Yeah, I'll actually click the record button this time on time.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate that. I'll be prepared to do the leading and stuff, but if you could take care of the technical side, it would be helpful.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just so everybody knows. Go for it.
Oh, I was just going to say, Autumn just wrote, she'll be in Iceland. So if whomever is doing the problem that she's writing solutions for, if you could finish it by Saturday, that would be great.
Is that me? I think that's me.
Uh-oh.
Not too much pressure here.
She's only going to Iceland. No big deal.
Yeah.
And she wants me to have my part done by Saturday?
I think so.
Where is that part?
She left it in chat, and then she hopped off real fast. So she's going on good faith it'll be done.
Whoever has done the problem I'm writing solutions for, could you finish like Saturday?
Yeah.
So I just want to say that this semester I've had a couple of other groups, and they've caused me lots of heartache and headache, but this group has been the best. You guys are the best group ever. I've never had one worry or headache with this group because everyone is just awesome. So I just want to say thank you to everyone.
I second that. This is one of the best groups I've had in the past 9 semesters.
My whole college experience, hands down.
This is my first group experience, and it's nothing like everybody told me it was going to be. So you set the bar really high for everyone else.
We're sorry.
Ruined it for you for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, I want to be done.
All right.
So, does anybody else have anything else to say? Any feedback for me? Any feedback for somebody else?
Oh,
We're
good
good.
night.
You guys.
All right. Well, good job, everybody, and see y'all later.
Live long and prosper. Yeah.
All right.